Hello everyone. This is our third week of the 30-day blogging challenge. So we're halfway through. I hope you're excited about that. I'm just going to set up my computer here, take a minute to give people time to come on live if they want to join live. So I'll just take a minute here to refresh my screen. For some reason last week when I did the Facebook Live, it wasn't showing me Facebook wasn't showing me who was on, or it wasn't showing me their comments. And I was on a couple other people's Facebook Lives last week too. And hello, Angela. And they had the same issue. Hello, I think I just saw Teresa float by. Yep, hi Teresa. So hopefully it's working better this week. I can see your hearts and your thumbs up, so thank you so much. Let me see if I can start the live on my computer. See, every time I do this, something went wrong. So I can't watch it, so I might not be able to see your comments. I can see them on my phone. Last week I couldn't see them on my phone. So they might go by quickly and I might not be able to catch them, but hopefully I'll be able to refresh once in a while and see. Hi, Kristen! So yay, we have people live this week. That's fun. So let me just take a sip of water and then we'll get started. My new bottle that I got for Christmas. Isn't it cute? Okay. I'm kind of having a blah day, so I'm a little under the weather. So I just want to apologize in advance if I'm a little low energy. And everything that I do today is going wrong. So hopefully I won't knock over my tripod or anything like that. So please bear with me. I'm just having one of those days where everything is just off. I couldn't even put my makeup on properly today. So let me bring out my notes. This is my computer's over here. So if you see me looking down this way, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So today's topic is finding time to blog regularly. And before we get started, I wanted to mention that I want to give away, oh my God, yes. I wanted to mention that I've been giving away a prize. I want to give away a prize every Monday that I'm doing these. So there's going to be a week 2 prize for who I thought had the best blog post over the past week. But I'm going to do that at the end after we have all the notes. And thank you for the hearts. It's so encouraging. Okay. So for today is finding time to blog regularly. And I know some of this is a mindset thing of just feel better. Oh, thanks, Sharon. And thank you for joining, Sharon. Hey, we have a lot of people here today. This is fun. I want to give you some tips because some of it is mindset to where, you just have to kind of make time in your mind to blog regularly. And it's easy to say, like, you just have to do it. It's part of your business. But I want to give you some practical tips. So I think most people would say their 2 biggest issues with blogging are what to write about and finding time to write. So last week we covered what to write about, and hopefully I gave you some ideas of how to come up with ideas. And this week I want to talk about fitting blogging actually into your life and how there are some time-saving tips that you can look like you're creating more content than you are. So the first one is, the more you blog naturally, the easier it's going to be for you and the faster you're going to be. And I think that if you blog regularly and you really get into a groove, you should be able to throw a blog post up in less than 30 minutes. And I know that sounds, you're probably like, yeah, right. But really, you can. I mean, sometimes the week gets away from me and all of a sudden I realize, oh my God, I have to send my newsletter out tonight and I didn't blog. And then I just put a blog post together really quickly. And part of that comes from me saving a lot of draft posts, which I mentioned last week. I have things that are sort of in different stages of starting. Just the topic you need, Teresa. Good. And I think last week I also mentioned creating an editorial calendar. And some people think like, I don't even know what that means, So in my real job before, my previous job that I have since left, I was the managing editor of a very large online publication. And so I wasn't the editor-in-chief. It wasn't my idea to come up with ideas for what to write about constantly, but it was my job to make sure that we published constantly and that we were on schedule and that we used to publish every day. And we used to publish certain areas of the site multiple times a day. So I had to have a really detailed calendar. And I had several kinds of calendars. So you can probably see behind me here, I have all these Post-it notes on my wall. And I used to use a big whiteboard when I worked. I used to work for Edmunds.com, so we wrote about cars. So I used to have this big whiteboard where I used to draw out about 5 weeks on the map, and we would put different color post-it notes for different things we were doing, so we could just move them around. If something wasn't going to get done, we could move it to Wednesday from Monday or whatever. But one thing I also did was I had an overall year calendar. So this is my overall year calendar. So the blue ones going across are the months, and I had started it in November, December, and then it starts January all the way through. You probably can't see what they say on them. But what I do is I first look at my whole year, and then you think about what events you have that are coming up, that you know that you have annually. Like we used to have car shows that were like the Detroit Auto Show was always in January, and the LA Auto Show was always in November. I think they moved it to a different time. But we had certain things that we had to hit, and there was a certain time of the year where we used to like every May we used to put out a list of the best used cars, and every November we would do something. So first of all, I would put those on my yearly calendar just to remind myself as an overview. Okay, in May we know this is coming, we have to start preparing for it in advance. But then I would get down even more, and so like I said, we had this big whiteboard with a 5-week calendar on it, and we knew that we would do certain kinds of posts on certain days. So we always did news every day, so there was always, that was a separate calendar that the news editor used to keep. But it really saves time to color coordinate you can do this in Google Calendar, you can just do it with magic markers or highlighters or whatever. If you want to use paper, it doesn't matter if you do it electronically or on paper. But once you get down into a groove, and I know that Angela's on here, and you always write your gratitude post. So every Monday, you know that you're going to write a gratitude post. You don't have to think about what you're going to do that day. So it probably saves you a little bit of time just knowing what topic you're going to write about, what category. So I would encourage you to come up with some kind of editorial calendar, and not that you have to do a certain post on a certain day, but if you just plan out in advance what kinds of topics that you want to write about, or if you know you have a certain craft show that's coming up, you can put that on your calendar. Or if we put the holidays, you have Valentine's Day coming up. I know Kristen has a little Cupid on her site for Valentine's Day, and you're probably going to have some special Valentine's promotions going on. So put on the holidays and whatever other dates mean something to you. And that really will save you time in the end if you have it planned out in advance and you're not kind of running around at the last minute trying to think, what do I blog? And I mean, we all do that from time to time. Like I said, I do it myself, or else I'm like, oh my God, I didn't blog. And then you have to come up with something. But if you have some ideas on the back burner, it's not as hard a thing as starting from scratch. So moving on to my next topic is to come up with, according to what your brand message is, what we talked about last week, to come up with maybe 4 or 5 categories that you know. I'm so awful at this. I either have 5 blog posts ready to go, or I'm staring at the ticking clock. I know, we too. Oh, and Facebook Live is telling me this is my most commented on live video yet. Yay! To come up with 4 or 5 categories that are your niche topics, so that you write about those topics and you don't write about everything else. So you don't want to dilute your brand with writing about other topics. Like if you're a food blogger, you don't want to write about the shoes that you bought, because people are coming to you for food. And so you might have 4 or 5 categories that are related to food. Meatless Mondays, or lunchtime recipes, or quick and easy, under 30 minutes, whatever you come up with that are your categories. And the same thing if you're a soap maker, you don't want to be writing about politics or something. And it's tempting sometimes to write about things that are too personal on our blogs, or something totally off topic because it happens to be something that's going on in your life. But if you keep to your categories on your blog, you can always write about those other things in a personal area somewhere. You don't want to dilute your brand with your personal posts. So if you know that you have these certain categories, and you don't have to limit it to 4 or 5, but it'll be easier for you if you do try to limit it to a certain amount. Then when you're trying to come up with ideas at the last minute, or filling out your editorial calendar, you know that you have these 5 topics that you have to hit on, and they're your categories for your blog. So I would encourage you to really sit down and think about, what are the categories for your blog that mean the most to your brand and to your customers, and what kind of message you want to put out in the world, and just stick to them, so you're not writing about all kinds of things. Another thing you can do is to automate to save time. So in the past, I've used things like TweetDeck and Hootsuite, and so if you have social media channels, if you have multiple ones, you can put all of them in there, and you can see them all in one screen, and you can schedule things in advance. And so it can save you time in a way that it can promote for you. So when you're writing, then you can plug these things into your Hootsuite or your. I've used Buffer right now. Like I was using Edgar for a while, and I found it very expensive. Now with Edgar, you can. It was great, but you could load in a bunch of your blog posts that you've written over the years, and then it'll put it out on a timer into the social media channels that you choose. So you can have it go to Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest. You can load them all in Google Plus. You can't do that to Instagram, but you can set up, because Instagram won't allow it, but you can set up reminders to put out your Instagram posts and have them prepared. So I stopped using Edgar because I just found it was getting too expensive for me. But the good thing about Edgar was you could plug that in, and then when it ran through your queue of things, it would just start it over again and jumble them up, and it would just keep doing it and keep doing it. Now I use Buffer, which you have to do manually. So what I do is, what I've been doing for this challenge is I've been reading everyone's blog posts every night. And then I comment on them, and then I take the link and the title and I put it into my Buffer queue, and I tweet it out on a schedule. I only tweet 4 times a day, I think, on my Buffer queue. And I'm not really tagging the companies in there, so you may not have even seen that I'm doing this. But I'm just putting, it will draw up the predominant photo from your post, so it does that for me. So it's not just tweeting a link; it does it with the image there, so it gets a little more attention. And I'll use the hashtag #blogyourbrand. So if you ever want to go to Twitter and just look up the hashtag #blogyourbrand, you can see everybody's posts from there, and if anyone else is using it too. So I use Buffer a lot for that, where I just queue it up, and then it won't redo it the way that Edgar will, but then I can go back in afterwards and I can look to see which ones performed well, and then I can just redo them. Like you can just click to send again, and it'll set up certain times of day. You can choose which times of day that you want your post to go, and you can do that on multiple accounts across multiple channels. I don't really use Pinterest that much, but I know like a lot of people do. So you can set it up to go on Pinterest, and I usually do my Facebook stuff by hand most of the time. But I do set it up for Twitter and for Google Plus, and I have multiple channels. So I do it for my personal stuff. I do it for my coaching practice, and then I do it for this blogging channel. So that's another thing that you can do to save time. One of the things that there's a woman I follow. Her name is Shalene Johnson, and she's very good at just making her presence be everywhere. And she's basically a fitness expert. She started something called PiYo, which is Pilates and yoga combination. But because she's had so much success online, she's also turned into a marketing online person, which a lot of people have done since they've had all this marketing success. So she has both of them going at the same time. So a lot of times what she'll do, and I think this is a great idea, although she has help to do it with her. She hires people to do some transcriptions and stuff for her. So if you're bootstrapping it like me, you're going to want to do this yourself. But what she does is she'll go on a live video and she'll talk about whatever topic she chose to talk about that day. And she usually does Periscope. She may have switched to Facebook Live by now. But she does a live video like I'm doing now. And then she hires someone to pull the audio out of it and to cut out all of her and when she goes off topic and things, and to edit it down. And then she uses that for her podcast. And then she uses the transcription from it. She has someone type up what she said, and she uses that as her blog post. And then she pulls quotes out of it and uses them for her social media channels. And you can put a quote on a picture, or you can just tweet out a phrase here and there. So with that one Facebook Live or Periscope Live video that she does, she gets a podcast out of it, her blog post out of it, all of her social media for the week that keeps linking back to the blog post or her podcast, wherever she wants to send people. And she's getting these multiple channels filled with just doing that one video in the beginning. So what I've been doing with these Facebook Lives, I put them in the group naturally, but then I also am downloading and I'm putting them on my YouTube channel. And then what I usually do is I write a script for it, and then I kind of glance over here to see what my topics were, but I don't really read from the script. I just talk about what the topics are that I know that I have listed here. But I take the transcription that I had written out originally, the script that I wrote, and I put that in the text box of YouTube. And so it's not the duplicate content. I'm not saying exactly what is written, although I'm touching on the same points. But what I could do is then use that as a blog post as well. I haven't been doing that because I don't really blog about blogging, because I blog about coaching. But I could get an extra blog post out of this, or even multiple blog posts. If I talk for a really long time, I could break it down into a couple of parts. So just think about the ways you can reuse your content. You can take one blog post and then you could do it in reverse. You could write a blog post and then maybe the next week you can record it as an audio and put that somewhere. Or you could take your blog post and then make it into a video. I have a coaching series on my site, if any of you are familiar with my site, where it's all about my La Dolce Vita coaching series, and I have about 9 topics in there. I might have about 12 now in topics in there. And I was thinking of then taking those blog posts that I did, which I wrote about 2 years ago, and then turning them into video content for YouTube. So you can just reuse your content like that, and it doesn't always have to be something that's brand new. So if you've made any videos in the past, maybe you want to think about making them into a blog post. Or the other way around, if you're trying to get into video, take one of your old blog posts that you thought was really good or you noticed was successful for you and turn that into a video. So multiple ways of reusing your content. We don't all have someone like Shalene Johnson who she can hire to edit all of that stuff for us. I wouldn't know how to edit audio. I'm just learning how to edit video now. But I'm sure, if you start making a lot of money in your business, you can hire someone to do that. Or even you could go onto Fiverr and have someone find some images for your future blog posts. Like if you know what topics you want to write about for the next couple of weeks from your editorial calendar, maybe you can have someone, a virtual assistant or someone, do some research for you or hunt down some photos for you. Just anything that you can do to save time, or get your kid to do it or something. If you have teenagers that you want to give them some marketing lessons, maybe you can have them do it. And they know a lot more about technology than we do. They could probably do it really quickly. I'm going to take a sip of water. So, that splashed me. So what else do I have here? So one thing we talked about, I think the last time we did the 30-day blog challenge, was one of my tips, or maybe it was from Donna Maria. One of the tips was to, and I know that Kristen does this, is the photo that you put at the top of your blog post, if you actually put the words on top of it, it's already pre-made for you to share somewhere else. So if you have a nice photo at the top and then you put the headline on it, or even an abbreviated version of your headline, you can then just very easily tweet that out with a link back to the blog post, or use that on Instagram. So if you think when you're designing your blog posts that you're going to use them for something else, you can kind of plan in advance for that. A lot of times I just put a picture at the top of my blog post, and then sometimes I remember to put the title on top of it, and then voila, I can just use that somewhere else and I don't have to go back in later and try to put a title on top of it. So if you plan some of that stuff out in advance, that's another time-saving tip for you. And I think quoting yourself is always a good idea. Our November challenge, that was I think the first challenge that I gave us when I took over this group, was to quote yourself and to put your quotes on some kind of image, and then you can share your images on Instagram. People love to see that kind of stuff. You can tweet them out, and you can pull them directly from your blog posts. So it doesn't always have to be a big marketing plan that goes along with your business. You can just do it as you blog. You can pull little snippets out of your blog posts and then use them for multiple channels. What else do I have here? Another tip is to create content in batches. So if you find that you have a day where you have some extra time, to try to write 2 or 3 blog posts, and you don't have to publish them all at the same time. Or if you're planning a blog post that is in multiple parts, you're going to have part 1, part 2, part 3 of a series, maybe you can sit down and write that all at once and then load them up into 3 blog posts, and then you can schedule them later, so you get 3 weeks worth of blog posts out of one sitting. And that way, if you want to go on vacation, or if you're not feeling well or something, you know that you have something already set up in advance. Because sometimes I'll blog at the last minute. I know that I send my newsletter out on Sunday night so that people have it first thing Monday morning. So sometimes I don't blog until Sunday, but it's really a lot easier if I write my blog post on Wednesday and then I don't schedule it to go out until Sunday. So if you can create content in batches like that, you can just kind of like give yourself a buffer to where you don't have to always be writing something at the time you're going to publish it. and maybe even plan things in advance that are on your overall calendar. Like if you know that Valentine's Day is coming up and you're going to have a promotion, write that ahead of time when you have a little free time and just save it until it's ready to go. And then when that time comes, you can be working on something else in your business. So that is another idea, is to create your content in batches. So the next tip I have is to make a template for your blog posts and for your photos. So if you do have a certain topic that you write about all the time, so maybe it's a how-to topic, and every month you do a tutorial on how to make something that people can use at home. You can create a little template in your blog post and just keep reusing the same blog post, and you just kind of swap out the information, or the same format really, not the same words. But know that you're going to have I do recipes on my blog a lot because I talk about Mediterranean eating. So I just have that same template that I use over and over again. I usually have an introductory paragraph at the top. Everything's backwards on here. I have an introductory paragraph on the top, and then I'll have ingredients, and I list the ingredients, and I have directions, and then I'll do a little wrap up at the bottom. And all of my recipe posts look exactly like that. And I'll have a photo, and now that I'm getting into video, I try to make a video of what I'm cooking too. So it's always in the same exact format. I don't have to recreate it every time that I'm doing it. So when I do a recipe post, they're really quick, as long as I've remembered when I was cooking to actually take the photos and to take notes, because sometimes I make a meal and I think, oh, why didn't I take pictures of that? Would have been a great blog post. But if you make a template like that, you can also do it for your photos. So like I mentioned before, I have my La Dolce Vita coaching series. If you go on my website and you just click the La Dolce Vita tab at the top, you'll see them all. And they all look exactly the same. It's a little promo page for all of them. It's like an index page. But every single one of them is a square photo, and it has a certain filter over the photo, and then I use the same font. So really, if you use something like Canva, which is free, I made the very first image like that. I played around with it for a while to get it the way I liked it. I had a certain filter that I used. I had a certain font in a certain size, and then I just repeated that. Like Canva will save that image for you, so every one time I want to make an image that looks like that, I can just open that image up again, swap out the photo, and just swap out the text, and it's already pre-designed. It already has the filter on it, it already has the font that I want it to use, and it's just so much faster. So you spend time making the first one, and then I made 11 more after that in just like a few seconds. And so making templates like that for yourself can really help and really save you time. And of course, another thing that can save you time is if you have help. So if you have employees, maybe you want to ask them to write a blog post. Most of us don't have employees, I think, that are on here. But if you do, I know that there are a lot of people also on here that do have some employees. And sometimes people would like to get another perspective. So maybe you could assign someone that works for you to write a certain type of post about ingredients or how to do something, or whatever you choose. It doesn't always have to be you. Sometimes people like to get a different perspective on your business, or a behind the scenes look by seeing someone who works for you. And a lot of times if they see someone who works for you and they're really happy and they get along with you, they realize how nice you are, and it just is like a boost of how much more that they like you. Another thing you can do is to allow guest posts on your blog. I've guest posted for the Indie Business Network. I've done it on several other blogs that I thought were related to my field. I've guest posted on the Change blog because they write a lot about going through changes in life or self-help, that kind of thing. But if you obviously you don't want to have your competitor write on your blog. But if you have someone who has a complementary business, like if you make soap and somebody else makes candles, and you both like to use lavender, maybe you can swap stories on each other's site. And so 1 week you don't have to blog because you know that other person is blogging on your site. And of course you're going to read it and edit it and make sure it fits in with what kind of content you like to present. But, that's a nice option too. And like I said, people like to get someone else's perspective once in a while. And if you're a really small blog, maybe you're not ready for that step yet. And if you do have time, it's a good way to grow your audience to guest post on other people's blogs as well. When you do have someone guest post on your blog, they share it with everyone they know. So it's a great way to get promotion, because for the Change blog a long time ago. I was several years ago now that I wrote a post for them. But of course I was going to tell everyone in the world that I wrote a blog post on the Change blog, and I put it out everywhere. And then not only is the man who runs the Change blog going to promote it, but he knows that he didn't have to blog that week because I blogged for him, and that I was going to tell everyone that I knew that I was on there. So I brought an audience to him, and I got in front of his audience. So guest posting can be a really smart way to grow your audience and save time to have someone write something for you that all you really have to do is proofread it and make sure it's in line with what you want to say about your brand. My last point that I wanted to make was to just, like I said in the beginning, it's easy to say just do it, but to treat your blog like the business that it is, because it can be a very powerful marketing tool. And if you're making time to make products, you really also need to make time to promote them and to market them and to make sure that people find out about your brand. So just make a little plan up. It doesn't have to take all of your day to blog, and it doesn't have to consume you, but just make up a plan and stick with it. And I think if you blog with consistency and you try to find little ways to make it easier on yourself, you can really get great results. So with that said, I think that was my last point. So before I announce this week's prize winner, let me know if anyone has any questions. And I'm not sure if Facebook is showing me everyone's comments, but now is the time to write them in the comment section, or maybe I can see them here. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then if there's no questions, I am going to give out this week's prize. I like that other people have been blogging too and putting their posts under, even if you're not doing the 30-day challenge. I love to see other people participate too, and I wanted to actually give out a shout out to someone. Let's see, I wrote it down. I wanted to give a shout out to Allison and Eric of Hand Brewed Soaps, because they said they made their first video this week, and it was actually musical. They sang, and I thought it was so cute, and they were brave enough to do it, and so I want to congratulate them for taking that step. I still have a hard time with new ideas. I feel like a broken record. Well, I don't know if you got to watch my video from last week. It was pretty long, but it was all about. I didn't want to just give you ideas, but I wanted to also give you ideas of how to come up with ideas. So if you want to watch that again, there's a lot of information there. I'm sure it's still on the page somewhere. Oh, you did watch it. Good. Well, let me see. You make candles. You're all about moments, so I think that would be. It's such a huge opportunity there to have lifestyle type of posts for you. And if you're, I've seen you make videos yourself once in a while, and they're fun, and you do a good job. But I know you have a new house this year, right? So maybe you, if you have like a little nook in there or something, you can just take a photo of you with a candle creating one of your moments. Like if it's just, I'm making this one up because I don't know if you have a candle that's called reading a book or something, you know, where you take a time. But maybe you can show yourself with your candle, just like a little lifestyle photo that you could use, that you can then write a post about. That's what I was wondering, if I could tie the moments. Yes, definitely. I mean, you're all, that's the name of your company. I think you've created this little niche for yourself of creating moments. You can write blog posts about creating moments. And just, you know, it doesn't always have to be informative about your products. It could be, it snowed today, and you're having a snowy moment or something, and have your cup of cocoa or coffee or something next to you, and one of your candles lit, or even, I watched your Bath Fizzy video one with the loose Bath Fizzies, and I forget what you call it exactly, but they weren't the pressed ones that are in a circle. It was the loose ones. And how you were mixing the two colors. I mean, that's a moment. Of course, you're not going to show yourself in the tub, you know, but you showed the tub and it going into the water, and how the fizzy action happens and the beautiful colors. You know, that's a great blog post right there. And it's a lifestyle post. And if you can show people having the moments, haha, me time, right, me time. Yeah, that's a great product. that you can make all kinds of moments with that. So to be like, relaxing. Like today, I'm having just one of those weird days that I need a moment. I need to have a moment for myself. So if I could take a picture of me putting lavender bath salts in a tub or something, and I feel like I'm running off topic lately. No, I don't think you're running off topic. But if you're, all of your products are named after moments, so maybe start creating moments on your blog, or just they don't have to be video. Like you can just take a shot of, your feet up, or like I'm relaxing and I have one of my products in the background, or show your lavender bath salt. Sounds wonderful. Oh yeah, it does. I don't have a tub. When I find my home, my word of the year this year is home, and I'm going to find a new home, and I'm going to make sure it has a luxurious tub because I love taking baths. But like with your me time, you showed the tub and the running water and stuff like that. Maybe you could do one where your feet are tired and you show one with your feet in the tub with the bath fizzies going around them, or you don't even have to be in it yourself if you don't want to, but have someone else, some people in your family or friends, just demonstrating your products and creating moments with them. I think that you could have like a great Instagram account with moments. Like you really sit down and just brainstorm the moments that you've come up with for your products, and then try to recreate them in a photo somehow. Even if you hired someone, for a day to pose in all of your shots or something like that. I think there's a lot you could do. And then, you have your other blog too about the Vine network, and that's always informative. So you have two things going on that you need to think up topics for. So I would definitely think about moments, creating moments. And does anyone else have any other questions? Or anything you want to comment on? So I am going to then give out this week's prize. And what I liked about the post that is winning this week's prize, oh, you're welcome, Kristen, is that if you're ever in doubt that your blog can sell something, this week's prize winner proved that it works. And Kristen, you're the winner of this week's prize, because you wrote a post this week about products you were discontinuing this year. And I immediately went into a panic and went on your site and bought Evanescence facial serum. And I've had a couple of samples of it, but it was a very effective blog post, because if you've ever taken any kind of online marketing course about selling, they always say to not only, if you're launching a product, or if you're launching a class or something, to always create scarcity in your market, to where you give people a deadline and you say, okay, this is for sale only until midnight, because it gets people to act. And when you said you were discontinuing that product, I've always meant to go back on and buy it. And then I just thought, I have to do it now. So you enticed me to buy it. You motivated me to buy it. And I thought that was a very effective blog post. And not only that, but then when I went to your site, I added one more product to it because I wanted to get free shipping. So it was very effective. So Kristen, you are the winner of this week's $10 Amazon gift card. And I will message you after this to find out how to get it to you. What is your preferred way to get it to you? So I want people to think about that. If you look at Kristen's blog post this week about the products that she's discontinuing for this year, because it was a very motivating factor in me going on and buying, because I've always wanted to buy that product. I have this I bought the samples twice, and I just keep thinking I have to go on and buy that, and then I keep putting off and putting it off until I realized it was going away. So it was very effective. So I want everyone to know too that if you're not participating in the challenge, and I see people who are posting, to please feel free to post your blog posts under each of the daily graphics, because I still go on and I read them and I comment on them and I share them, and I want other people to do the same thing. Because remember, every time you post, you should be reading someone else's post and sharing as well, because we can all learn from each other and supporting each other. And the more that we share and comment on the content, the more of an audience it gets in general, and we'll do better in search rankings. So if anyone has anything else, now's the time to tell me. And it's hilarious, I got about 10 orders from that post. See how effective it was? That's why you're winning the award. And I will give out another award next Monday. And I'm not sure what next Monday's topic is going to be. I was going to probably do blogging best practices, but I feel like that's kind of been done. But unless anyone has something specific they want me to talk about next week, that's probably what the topic's going to be. So unless you have an idea for me, please write it down below. And if you're watching this on replay and you have any questions, you can always write questions down in the comments and I will check back later. But other than that, I am going to sign off, and I thank everyone who joined me live today. I hope I gave you some time-saving tips. I think the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is to create templates, categories that you know you're going to follow, and then to try to reuse some of your content in other ways. It really saves you time. That's it for this week. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope I wasn't rambling too much because I'm really like having an off day. So, oh, I love you too, Kristen. Thanks. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.